Hey everyone. All right. So let's just give people a few minutes to kind of come rolling in. But for right now, just take a moment and sink into this room. Let your eyes soften. Let your hearing soften. And just take in this room in this moment. Just let your body arrive in this moment. And if there are any questions or anything you'd like addressed in this class, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll just see where the class takes us. Now, for anybody new here tonight or listening to this in the future, the way we meditate is we place our attention at our forehead and our crown. And what we mean when we say that is that you could just scratch your forehead, scratch your crown, and just that little lingering awareness. That's all we're talking about. Just keeping your attention high in your body. It's going to stimulate glands that just sort of help calm you down and open up your vision a little bit in clarity. Then we give our attention to our breath. As you're inhaling, you're right there with that inhale. As you're exhaling, you're riding that exhale all the way down. And if you can give yourself to that in a relaxed, not rigid way, you'll start to notice that in between the inhale and the exhale, right in that transition moment, there's a little gap of nothing space. Just like the moment after the orchestra stops playing, but right before the audience starts applauding, a little pa of nothing space. That space is a doorway into the meditative state. And all you have to do is notice it as you breathe. If you'll notice that as you breathe, it just opens a little window at the top and the bottom of the breath. And you will find that you slowly start to seep through that window. And you will become silent. And once that happens, meditation becomes the simple act of making that your home. Just abiding comfortably in that space. And when the brain and the personality come in to try and take you away from that, you simply return to that space. Over and over again. Okay? Okay, Suki, we will definitely deal with that question tonight. So, attention at the forehead and crown. You're going to keep your eyes open. Let them just sort of fall to a spot on the floor in front of you. And we'll just begin to breathe. nothing to resist. Find the speed of this moment. It has its own pace, its own rhythm. And the only way to find it is for you to stop directing it and just show up for it. Let's really give in to your stopping place. That place where you stop and consciousness begins. Right now, there's a lot of busyness in the room. Nothing to do about it. Let the busyness be the busyness. You just show up and breathe in this moment, in this space. Slow yourself down so that you're not pushing and pulling at the moment. Go ahead and find your freedom. It can coexist with everything you think needs to be different. Just accept it the way it is. And there's your freedom. I don't mean intellectually. I mean stop needing your world to change. And be with it exactly the way it is, right here, right now. And you will see that your problems are not really problems. Even though there may be things to do about them. They are not what's holding you back. They are not what is destroying your peace. What's destroying your peace is that you're splitting yourself in two. Into the life that you should be living and the life that you are living. Instantly, it puts you at half energy. And fills your world with the story of conflict. First, do nothing about it. Accept it exactly the way that it is. So the two parts can become one. Then, from your place of wholeness, you'll be able to clean things up if you need to. The hard thing about life is that about 15 seconds out of the womb, you have people directing your attention towards that split. It takes a long time to really take that split on. But in this world, it's inevitable. So when you come to a class like this, or a teacher like me, you usually come split, and usually not just into two pieces. But whether you're split in two or 202, the solution is the same. And the magnitude of the split is not an issue. Whatever this has become, in this moment, stop asking it to be different. And from there, you go from being rubble to being able to step out of the rubble. From identifying with the mess to stepping out of the mess. Not through resistance, but just through awareness. Now Suki's asked a question. Why do we make mistakes? Like the smaller kinds that aren't majorly consequential, and what do we do about them? This plane of existence that we've all manifested upon is built on duality. It's built on those splits. To navigate it, you almost have to pretend to be split if you aren't actually split. Just so that you can speak to other people without looking and sounding like this, which outside of the context of a meditation class would weird people out. Every action that we take from that split place sets other splits in motion. Let me give you an example. Have you ever had a day where everything is going fine? I mean, you're not a perfect person or anything, but your day is pretty much okay. And then all of a sudden, there's somebody in your space, and even though they're not directly being a jerk to you, you can see through your periphery and feel through your body the general chaos that they're experiencing. And that chaos lights up within you a bunch of your personal stuff that then becomes like a little fire that you either have to put out or something that gets expressed into your own world. Right? I think we've all had that experience. Or you're walking down the street and somebody who is feeling very lustful and very sexual ignites something in you, and you find yourself having feelings like that in your own body, and then it's all you think about as you continue to walk down the street. We light up stories in each other. And in doing so, we magnify and reinforce each other's karma. Even that clean baby that comes out of the womb comes with certain things already intact. In Hinduism, they're called samskaras. It's kind of like little scars on the soul that create just these tendencies that are so subtle, and yet the light is always flowing through them, and so it just creates projections onto the screen of life that makes the pathway of least resistance lead you to things that were major issues for you in prior incarnations. People think that they have all this free will. And free will is definitely part of the experience of life. We feel like we're making all of these choices. And when we make a bad choice or find ourselves down some weird road that we never would have wanted to go down, or feel like we should have been smarter than going down that road, we feel like we took this major choice that we had and somehow just made the wrong choice. And this free will, it's the backbone of most religions, but it doesn't hold up very well to scrutiny. You know, if you really look at it, okay, maybe you made a choice to do something, and maybe you even made a choice to feed the desire to do it. But when did you make the choice for that core want? When did you make that choice? If you really step back, there is this moment that is the primal cause of every mistake you've ever made or anything you've ever done right. That was not a matter of your personal choosing. If you watered that seed, yes, you chose to water it, but you chose to water it because you wanted to water it, and because the events of your surrounding life gave you enough personal power to water it, or withheld that personal power and caused you to seek out easier solutions that led to worse outcomes. You know, I'm a gay man. My husband comes from a very religious family who has definitely grown a lot and come around for him. But early on, there was this sense that, well, he had chosen to be gay. He had made this choice. We both did. We chose this road. And that's just not the experience of any gay person I've ever met. There's no moment where I chose to be gay. If you want to help a straight person understand that, you ask them the moment that they made the choice to not be gay, or they made the choice to want the opposite sex. And if they're conscientious enough to really introspect on that, they'll realize that that moment was just part of them. Not really something they can take credit for. And so it takes away that part of them that feels like they need to blame somebody, as if they had some choice that they really didn't have. I think a lot of people realize that about sexuality, but they don't realize it about every other facet of their life. That core want, you didn't choose it. And so if you're making mistakes, I think the first thing to do is lift some of the blame. And if other people led you to those mistakes, show them the same consideration. We're all stuck in the same mess. Doesn't mean you owe them anything. It just means when you're assessing the situation, you understand that the parts of themselves, those seeds that they didn't choose, that they just came into life with, got watered through circumstances, that they feel a lot of guilt over it because there is just this feeling that we have all this choice. And so you just have compassion. You show that compassion to yourself, and you show that compassion to others. You can have them in your life, or you can step away from them. You can do whatever you want. I just mean inwardly, when you're assessing. It's important to have that compassion, because in this world, anything we look at gets watered. The mechanism through which we get led down a road that we would call mistakes is a mechanism where first we have this series of wants that we can't help, that just give us gentle nudges in certain directions. Then we have an environment that is filled with people dealing with the same mess. And so we're always kind of having these invitations pop up in front of us to mirror the messiest parts of our nature. It takes quite a lot to be in a world this miserable, this filled with people in suffering, and not have those seeds watered inside of us. And so we get our personal power knocked down. We lose our buffer. And we start reflecting back the very thing that that person is stuck in inside of ourselves. We walk away and we've now taken it with us. some people would say that you've taken on their karma. I don't think it's really like that. I think it just lights up something that's already inside of you. And again, something that is not actually your fault. And so to answer a question of why do we make mistakes, that's why we make mistakes. We make mistakes because we are born with the seeds of all these wrong and right directions. And we're in a world where the wrong directions are almost always the ones that are immediately the most easy. And so we are constantly having that side of ourselves lit up. And as that gets lit up, that waters itself and becomes whole situations in our life. It even densifies into our physical body, and at some point could even become a cycle that maybe we're not going to get rid of in this lifetime. You know, it just depends on how far gone it is. And that's okay, because it's all just the story. And if you've seen anything from attending a class like this, it's that none of that has to get fixed for you to enter the silence. You come to a class like this, I purposefully let go of my entire day the second I sit down, so that ideally none of the mess is lit up, give or take. And I put forth the spiritual life that I've watered over the decades. You start to feel calm, you start to feel empowered, and you might even think that that's my power you're feeling. A lot of teachers play off of that, but what you're actually feeling is the divine part of you getting watered through your attention. To place your attention on the divine in another person is not different than placing the attention on the divine inside of yourself. But some of us have learned how to mirror that for you so that it lights up in you. So you come here and we kind of light that candle, and then you keep it lit on your own as long as you can, and if it blows out, you just come on back and we light it again. That's how I became what I am, and that's how you're going to become what you are. But again, I had to want that. And that want was given to me. And it was given to you too, or you wouldn't be here. And it doesn't make us better than anyone. It's just something we're really lucky to have. It means that in this lifetime, one of the roads that is open to you is your own awakening and your own peace. And you'll go through phases where you want it more than others. And a lot of that is, if not all of it, is not really under your control. So let go of the guilt. When you fall down, let go of the guilt. The world that you're in came together with those little scars on your being, those little things that you just came in with. The Hindu religions would chase them back to mistakes you made in your past life, but you could go all the way through every single life and you would never find that moment where you chose that want, where you chose to want something good or bad. So just let that go. And the funny thing is, when you let go of the guilt, you stop watering the bad. Because what does the guilt do but have you redefine yourself as the very thing you don't want to be? And all the power of your attention goes to it. It's a tricky world we're living in. If you let go of the guilt, then there's just more energy for you to actually crawl out of the hole. But you will fall down again. It's an unfair request that someone not fall down in this world. In this world, we're always feeling things and incorrectly ascribing them to different aspects of the story. You've got this brain that's just blindly answering questions. You know, maybe you're sitting and you're just feeling like you can't make yourself do anything and everything just feels bad. None of the things you can think of to do feel like they could be good. And maybe what's really happening is that, you know, our world is going a little insane. I mean, politically, everything's a mess right now. People are scared. So there's a lot of that in the air. You might have someone in your life who's just exhausted and overworked. And you're looking up and just projecting all of those feelings that are moving through you that aren't even yours onto your own life. You know, over time you get the wakefulness to say, maybe I don't actually know what the problem is in this moment. You know, that's a powerful, I don't know is a powerful thing. I don't know shuts down whatever illusion you're creating. In that moment, suddenly the door is open for other possibilities to come through. What if nothing's wrong with my life? What if there's nothing hard about any of the things I actually have to do? It's just that I'm feeling hardship. And because my life is what's directly in front of me, I'm mistakenly ascribing that hardship to my life. And something about recognizing that gives you a little buffer. It's knowing that you can't trust that ascribing faculty gives you a little buffer. Do you see how tricky it is? How messy it is? This is the realm of mess. It's sticky. Not many people would have the wakefulness to even step back and say, what if this isn't it? What if I actually have no idea what this feeling's about? And so instead they start making massive changes to all the good things in their life, calling them bad. So what's the answer? You've got this mess. What's the answer? You can't trust what your mind is telling you because it's just a dumb answer machine. So what's the road out of it? It's what we do every Thursday. You just show up for whatever is there, exactly the way it is. You drop the fight, and you let it all be okay, exactly the way it is, with nothing to figure out, nothing to fix or attain, so that you can show up for it cleanly. You drop any arrogant thinking that you know everything. You relinquish your likes and your dislikes. And you find your freedom right there. Right in the face of it. You don't put that moment off to some future date. You don't say, oh, I wish I could let go of this addiction so that I could experience freedom. You don't have to let go of your addiction to experience freedom. Oh, I wish I could find the right job so that I could relax and actually experience that freedom, that good feeling. No. You can experience while you're dying of starvation. There's nothing that needs to be placed between you and this experience that you guys come here to have once a week. And that doesn't mean if you're starving you can't also eat. The two are not mutually exclusive. My point is they have nothing to do with each other. Except that as the pressure comes off, your dimension of sight increases, and you'll probably be able to find food and solutions easier. You'll know when you're stuck in something, and instead of just hard focusing on the stuckness, you'll know the forces of illusion are at work. And you'll say, maybe I don't know what's causing this. What if this has nothing to do with the things I think it has to do with? Let's just start by accepting everything exactly the way it is. And you do that over and over and over again. You fall down, your world mirrors it, and in the aftermath of the mess, you just throw yourself wide open for exactly what is. And it naturally starts to correct itself, but that's kind of inconsequential. The more you do it, the more it builds as a power in your life. Even with other people, you just have kind of a referential power that starts to develop. More options, more open doors. But you don't have to worry about any of that, and there's nothing you have to do to make it happen. You drop the fight so that you're no longer split. And that wholeness starts to reflect on the screen of life, and it begins making the necessary corrections. Okay. That was a long answer. Are there any questions about that? I think it's a really important overview for people to understand. Each of you has this power, this ability. It's the same thing that makes you come to this class instead of letting some other aspect of yourself get in the way. If you've got the power to show up here, you have the power to do that. You bet, Zooks. Good questions. All right, guys, let's just step back into the silence for a little bit. Tension at the forehead and crown. And just watch the breath. Just letting simple things be simple. Okay, guys. This week, I want you to notice when you start to get stuck in things. And I want you first to remove the blame. Lift the blame off of yourself. Lift the blame off of everyone else. Now, just because something isn't your fault doesn't mean it isn't your responsibility. Those are two different things. But you will be limited to whatever power you have stored to make the changes. But if you lift that blame off, you'll have more personal power. And so why don't we just make that the goal this week? Just notice it. And then lift the blame. From there you can make whatever decisions you're going to make. But let's make the battle this week to notice it. Notice that you're stuck. Notice that you're triggered. Notice that you're misstepping. And lift the blame off of yourself. And then decide what you're going to do. To whatever ability you have to make that decision. Okay, the goal is awareness. Unconditional, non-judgmental awareness. And just notice what that does for you. What does that do to what it feels like to be you? Any questions before we end for the night? Okay, everybody. I'll see you next week. Have a great week.